Don't destroy anything.
This week on At the Movies, from the makers of Shrek and Kung Fu Panda, it's Monsters vs. Aliens.
Party at my house tonight. My dad's out of town.
Yeah, I'm invited.
Yep. That's why I'm telling you.
We've got an exclusive early review of Kristen Stewart in Adventureland.
Humans of Earth, my quest has led me to your planet. Give it to me now! Somebody think of something and think of it fast.
Mr. President, we need a Hail Mary pass. We need raw power. We need monsters.
Who will be victorious in the battle of monsters versus aliens? I'm Ben Mankiewicz from Turner Classic Movies.
And I'm Ben Lyons from E! Entertainment. I remember as a kid, it seemed like there was one big, highly anticipated animated movie a year. Now it seems like there's one once a month, but Monsters vs. Aliens raises the bar. Reese Witherspoon voices Susan, a young woman who's about to marry her newscaster fiancé, Derek, who's voiced by Paul Rudd. Before the wedding, a meteor lands on her and transforms her into a giant woman, appropriately renamed Ginormica. She's whisked away to a top-secret location where the government has been capturing and detaining monsters for years. Here, she's briefed by General W.R. Monger, voiced by Kiefer Sutherland.
In 1950, it was decided the Jane and Joe public could not handle the truth about monsters and should focus on more important things like paying taxes.
But I'm not a monster. I'm just a regular person. I'm not a danger to anyone or anything.
Oh, let her get me.
Sorry.
When Rainn Wilson, as the alien Galaxar, plans to invade and destroy life on Earth, Susan and her monster friends, a genius cockroach, the missing link, and an enormous brainless blob named Bob, are called upon by the president to attack and defeat the aliens in exchange for their freedom.
I think he sees us.
Hello! Hi! How you doing? Welcome! We are here to destroy you!
I can't fight that thing. I can't even. I'm hyperventilating. Does anybody have a giant paper bag?
Monsters vs. Aliens gives audiences that blockbuster event movie feel in a way that's appropriate and mind-blowing for kids, and it's enjoyable for adults who just want to laugh. It's got a really cool B-movie spirit with grainy old stock footage, but it also has a Transformers or Star Wars-sized series of action sequences that, in 3D, are just first-rate. Monsters vs. Aliens made me feel like a big kid again. I'm going to say see it.
You mentioned a couple of the voices there, but also Seth Rogen, Hugh Laurie, Will Arnett, Amy Poehler, Stephen Colbert. I'm leaving some people out, but all of them, you know, we know these are very funny performers, and they all really, I thought their timing was really solid here, and they delivered sort of funny line after funny line throughout this.
Yeah, I believe this is the first time that DreamWorks, a studio bringing us the film, has shot an animated movie in 3D, and it takes it up a notch. It really does. You're looking at some of the spaceships and some of the outer space sequences and thinking, wow, this is like on par with some of the big A-list Hollywood blockbusters. It's appropriate for the younger audiences. A lot of great jokes that go over their heads that you and I can enjoy.
There's a, you know, Stephen Colbert plays the president at one point as they're dealing with the gravity of the alien invasion. Sitting around a big conference room, somebody says we need to get our top scientists on this. Somebody get India on the phone, and I was thinking, well, it's probably not for the kids, but no question, adults are going to laugh at that. Following my standard of will the kids like it? Will the adults tolerate it? I think, no question, more than tolerate it. I think they'll laugh at it.
And I think this isn't the last we've seen of Monsters vs. Aliens. It's the same guys who brought us Shrek, and they know how to turn these characters into household names.
Not to be too PC about it, but I also like that the main character here, Reese Witherspoon, Susan, this is a big, giant, powerful woman who chooses to be big, giant, and powerful, and I think that's nice, and I think it'd be nice for kids. So I definitely agree with you. See Monsters vs. Aliens. Changing gears completely. Next up, a small film set at a quaint little New England college aiming to tell a big story. It's Spinning into Butter with Sarah Jessica Parker as the dean of students at this largely white liberal arts school trying to convince the world it's really a bastion of diversity. It's not. It's merely a bastion of political correctness and self-importance in a film dripping with perhaps the worst trait a movie can possess, sanctimony. Here's Sarah Jessica Parker dancing around a student's ethnicity to get him a scholarship.
Would it be fair for me to say, then, that you're Hispanic?
What's wrong with New Rican?
Well, nothing, of course.
Then why don't you just say that?
Because the scholarship committee is... well, they're not culturally sensitive.
Much of the film consists of teachers and students having painfully inauthentic conversations about race and ethnicity. The crux of the story is the college's response to racial taunts directed toward one of the school's few black students. Despite capable character actors James Rebhorn, Michael T. Williamson, Beau Bridges, and Miranda Richardson, the clueless administration, enabled by a script that feels like a diversity video produced for middle schoolers, struggles to find the right response to the racial unrest.
We'll cancel classes and hold the meeting this afternoon.
I think we should wait.
Why don't we call it a forum?
A forum on race. Good idea.
Wait a second. We should speak to Simon first. What if he doesn't want us talking about him this way?
This movie would have been bad in 1983, but at least it would have been original. Skip it.
Ben, I really respect Sarah Jessica Parker for taking on a small film like this. It brings up some issues of race, and she doesn't have the, you know, the Versace dress and the Balenciaga bag that we've grown accustomed to seeing her in. That said, I respect her for taking it on. The end result didn't really work out as planned. I agree with you. It feels like an after-school special.
Michael T. Williamson plays a television reporter in this small Vermont town, and it feels like that was written by someone who's never seen 6 minutes of television news. I mean, that was inauthentic. Everything was inauthentic.
And their scenes together kind of feel like a drama class in a lot of ways, where they're working on an exercise of how do you get from one point to another. They don't switch gears very gracefully. They have a lot of scenes together, and it just doesn't hold up.
It's really the crux of the movie, really, are their scenes together. And I like both of these actors. I like them very much, and there's a pretty good supporting cast in this, too. But they have a faux earnestness in these scenes that just didn't work, I thought, in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, very disappointed by this. I'm going to have to say skip it. Coming up next, from rock star to director, Limp Bizkit's Fred Durst directs The Education of Charlie Banks.
And later, Kristen Stewart and Ryan Reynolds spend a summer in Adventureland.
Games. Oh, great.
I prefer a rides job if it's still open. How's this? No, wrong. No, you know, you see, you're telling me how dangerous you are, but you want to dare me to find out for myself.
Next up, a rock star goes behind the camera for the first time. The Education of Charlie Banks, directed by Limp Bizkit frontman Fred Durst, tells the story of a couple of kids from Lower Manhattan and their simultaneously tumultuous and sensitive relationship with the neighborhood tough. Jesse Eisenberg is Charlie, a good kid, both intrigued by and terrified of Mick, the bully, played by Jason Ritter, who shows up at Charlie's college dorm room years after Charlie secretly ratted Mick out to the police.
Yo. Mick, Leary. You, Charlie Banks.
Yeah, I remember, I came in for my econ exam, and we were sitting in the lobby waiting.
Charlie!
What? All right, no big deal. We just help him avoid conflict.
The thing is, it appears maybe Mick has changed. He's thoughtful, maybe even introspective, but the violent rage still lurks.
Whoa, what the...
Yeah, okay, forget it. The deal with Mick is you know, he can be a really great guy, you know, but he's got this thing.
There are some things to like about The Education of Charlie Banks, but also plenty that detracts from what could be an interesting story. The students at college talk as if they're imitating what students ought to be talking about. Charlie Banks comes close. Durst does some good things here, but I'm going to have to say skip it.
I'm glad you mentioned that this is Fred Durst's first time directing a feature film, because it is. Even though that this comes out after The Long Shots did, which starred Ice Cube, he also directed that. He made this first. And he's directed a lot of music videos over the years, so he's a capable filmmaker. And you're right, he does do some good things here, but it doesn't ever really come together. And it almost feels like an exercise in storytelling or writing, really. The script kind of feels contrived and set up for certain power struggles instead of organically coming to that moment. You can really see it on screen.
Yeah, and I don't want to suggest that this is a terrible movie, because I really didn't
it's definitely not a terrible movie.
I didn't feel that way at all. And every single one of those scenes, which again sort of failed to get over the hump, I felt like they were getting close, and I'd even build up some emotion, and then by the end of it, I'd be like, nope, that didn't quite make it.
But you know what? Those add up after a while. If you take one scene that doesn't quite get there, followed by another scene that doesn't quite get there, all of a sudden you've got a movie that doesn't quite get there.
You know, and Charlie in this, played by Jesse Eisenberg, who I think is a really talented young actor. We're going to talk about him coming up later in Adventureland. Whereas he doesn't quite get over the hump here, I think he does in Adventureland, and we'll discuss that coming up a bit later.
And Jason Ritter, who is always a sweet character on screen, and he tries to play the heavy here, and he's convincing in moments sort of in the first half of the movie.
I agree.
But then towards towards the end, he doesn't really have that menacing feel to him like he does in the beginning of the movie, and so much of the movie depends on that. So I'm going to have to say skip The Education of Charlie Banks.
All right, coming up next from the director of Superbad, we'll give you an early review of Kristen Stewart and Jesse Eisenberg in Adventureland.
And later, the big winner at this year's Academy Awards is in our DVD Out Now segment.
I'm amazed at how tiny my paycheck is.
We are doing the work of pathetic, lazy morons.
Party at my house tonight. My dad's out of town.
Yeah, I'm invited.
Yep. That's why I'm telling you.
Let's party!
How does writer-director Greg Mottola follow up his box office smash Superbad? Well, he returns to his roots with Adventureland, which is loosely inspired by his own experiences working at an amusement park in college. Adventureland opens next week, so this is an early review.
Help out.
Set in the 1980s, Jesse Eisenberg, making his second appearance on this week's show, stars as the sheepish and insecure James, who reads Renaissance literature while seeming to channel Michael Cera. He needs to get a summer job, and after exhausting every other option, he's forced to settle on a job at Adventureland. There he meets M, played by Kristen Stewart. She has a secret relationship with a mysterious older theme park employee played by Ryan Reynolds.
I really want to see you tonight.
Tonight?
Yeah. Unless you got something else going on. You're doing really good. I jump when he jumps just instinctively.
Where do you want to go? Not the backseat of your car.
The absolutely hilarious duo of Bill Hader and Kristen Wiig, both Saturday Night Live cast members, play managers of the amusement park, and they simply steal every moment they're on screen.
The race is on. We have a winner. Here's this. Hey, James, have you ever seen a horse race before?
You really got it going on there? You got it free!
This is how we met.
Despite the antics of Hader and Wiig, the film really isn't as funny as it's trying to be. It's more heartfelt. The pairing of Eisenberg and Stewart could have been awkward, but the movie seems to work through it. The theme park setting seems obvious for over-the-top comedy, but Mottola's tightly written script plays it more believable than ridiculous. I was on the edge of saying rent it, but because of the strong performances by Hader and Wiig, I'm going to say see it.
The first half of this movie, Ben, I thought was certainly funnier and also stronger than the second half of the movie. But the first half I thought was really quite good. I was really into this movie. I was interested, very interested in seeing where these characters went. It was extremely funny. As the movie went on, it seemed almost to be winding down a little bit. But nonetheless, as you mentioned, it did get more heartfelt. You also bring up Jesse Eisenberg channeling Michael Cera. It's impossible to watch Jesse Eisenberg and not think of Michael Cera, but I feel like I'd be shortchanging Jesse Eisenberg by saying that he's like doing Michael Cera.
No, he's
because
doing
it
Michael
works.
Cera.
Whatever he's doing, it works
sure.
on its own, definitely.
And he's not as funny as Michael Cera. You have two leads in a comedy, and neither one of them, Eisenberg or Kristen Stewart, are very funny. The comedy happens around them, and it happens in the first part of the movie, so you're expecting the entire movie to be funny. But that's why this works, and I think this is why it sort of stands out from other teen comedies, and it's why I applaud Greg Mottola from doing something that's a little bit more personal to him, maybe than a gross-out sex comedy like Superbad.
Yeah. I disagree with you about whether Jesse Eisenberg's funny. I think he is funny. I think a lot of the comedy sort of centers around him, and I thought he did a really nice job here. And once I got past realizing that maybe the second half isn't supposed to be as funny as the first half, it made it easier for me to really embrace the film.
Look, we're talking so much about Eisenberg and Stewart, but the real reason to see this movie is Bill Hader. He is a comic genius. I don't know what else to say about it.
I think this is a sweet movie. I agree. I think you should see it. By the end of it, I really cared about all these characters. Our next movie, Goodbye Solo, from indie director Ramin Barani, is not a film you've seen before. Solo is a Senegalese cab driver, lives in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. He's a loving stepfather to a 10-year-old girl, and he and his Mexican wife are expecting a baby of their own while he studies to be a flight attendant. I know, that old story. But the heart of this movie is Solo's burgeoning relationship with a mysterious passenger, a surly older white man who Solo ends up driving all over town.
Why am I with you again? How come it's always you that picks me up?
Because I'm your driver now, you know what I'm saying? And anyway, I have this I want to give back to you.
What's this?
Come on, man. Last time you were just upset, so I saved it for you.
Are you stupid? Or you just don't understand English?
William is clearly lonely, and it seems to Solo planning something drastic. So Solo, who's incapable of being told no, relentlessly injects himself into William's life, creating an unlikely but completely genuine friendship.
Yo, William, you know about cars? Can you give me a hand here? I rode motorcycle. Yo, you have tattoo, right? Oh my God, original player!
Solo is played by a newcomer, Suleiman Sai Savani, who gives a really beautiful performance. William, the passenger, is Red West. Ironically, he was a member of the Memphis Mafia, and he was Elvis's driver in the 1950s. They share a small but powerful story that never really felt undertold. It's hopeful and tragic, but without any false Hollywood melodrama. I think definitely you should see Goodbye Solo.
I can't praise enough the performance of Savani in this film. He is incredible to watch on screen. Really a beautiful performance. But for me, that was sort of the only thing to watch. I felt the film was incredibly stripped down, which is fine, but there's nothing else to sort of help build it back up again. It's simply watching him, his positive nature. He's great to watch on film, but the film itself kind of let me.
You weren't interested to find out what happens to William, what happens to Red West?
I didn't really have that same connection to West as I did to Savani's character, to Solo. Solo is incredibly engaging. From the moment you meet him in his cab, you feel like you've known him for 20 years already, and he's the one I wanted to watch. But Red West's character was so grumpy and isolated that he didn't really draw me into the story at all.
Suleiman brings out something in West. We learned more as the movie went on about Red West, about why he's so down, why he might be planning something drastic, that I was really left wondering, is Solo's sort of infectious nature, the joy that he feels, the hopefulness, the optimism that he constantly feels, is that going to bring William out of his shell?
For me, beyond Savoni's performance, there really wasn't enough for me to give it a see it, so I'm going to say rent it.
All right. Well, coming up next, Jennifer Aniston and Owen Wilson in a movie for any dog lover. It's coming up in our DVD Out Now segment.
Marley, you can't go through a screen door.
You get an answering machine, and then went back and had the phone for dessert.
Okay, time to take a look at DVDs Out Now. My pick is an incredibly manipulative, overly sentimental movie with a main story that didn't really interest me. That said, I'm recommending Marley and Me because in the end, the movie just flat out got me. Owen Wilson and Jennifer Aniston are young reporters in Miami. They're trying to start a family. First, they get a dog, Marley. But as Marley aged, along with their 3 kids, we finally saw how important this dog was to this family. Look, maybe I'm weak. Maybe I just really love my dog. Or maybe Marley and Me will just make you feel a little better than before you saw it.
Well, my pick this week is the Best Picture winner, Slumdog Millionaire. Now, when you compare it to fellow Best Picture winners from the decade, it ranks right up there with The Departed and Gladiator as one of my favorites. One performance of note that wasn't mentioned much during Slumdog's media blitz during award show season, Irfan Khan, the police inspector, interrogating Jamal, who transforms from a place of dark brutality to compassion and human understanding. Each role in Slumdog Millionaire is so well cast, which becomes more apparent every time you watch it.
So, Marley and Me and Slumdog Millionaire, they'll both be in stores Tuesday and available on DVD right now. 2 movies we reviewed on previous shows. First, Daniel Craig stars as James Bond in Quantum of Solace, and also Michael Rappaport in Special.
Want to know what you can't miss this weekend? Well, stay tuned for my 3 to see.
Why are you in my yard?
Why are you in your yard? There's all sorts of super destinations. You could go to a jazz festival, stock car racing, ride a donkey in a canyon. You just gotta go. I'll feed you free breakfast.
Hotel provided by Park Hyatt Chicago. Chicago's award-winning hotel and luxury dining experience. Located in the heart of Chicago's Magnificent Mile on Water Tower Square.
Okay, recapping the movies on this week's show. We agree you should see Monsters vs. Aliens. We both say to skip Spinning into Butter. We also agree you should skip The Education of Charlie Banks. We both say to see Adventureland. It opens next week. And I say see Goodbye Solo. Ben says you should rent it.
This week, my 3 to see includes an adult comedy, an animated family blockbuster, and a Spanish-language thriller. At number 3, it's I Love You Man, which continues the resurgence of R-rated adult comedies with great material and emerging talent. Paul Rudd has turned into a first-rate comedic lead, and Jason Segel is his free-spirited sidekick. A larger reason why it works, however, is because of Rashida Jones, Jamie Presley, Andy Samberg, and Jon Favreau, who are perfectly cast in complementary roles. At number 2, it's Monsters vs. Aliens in 3D. Now, I know we've been bombarded with an assault of studio-produced, animated, and three-dimensional fare as of late, but this rises above the genre as a great piece of pop entertainment. And at number 1, if it's playing near you, seek out Sin Nombre. The Spanish-language story of gang life and immigration is truly thrilling. It reminds me of recent urban, culturally charged dramas like City of God, Gomorrah, and Slumdog Millionaire. With aggressive direction and startling imagery, the movie is disturbing and confrontational. You won't be able to turn away.
That's it for now, but remember, we are always online at atthemoviestv.com.
We'll leave you with a quick look at releases coming soon, and until next week, we'll be at the movies.
I'm going with you.
I ain't coming back.
I've been chosen to be the protector.
Renewin, the only intensive release bilayer tablet for joint care and energy. Layer 1 works to improve joint comfort and mobility. Layer 2 helps boost your energy. Renewin, healthy joints, active lifestyle.
Choose Plum Smart. It's clinically proven to help regulate your digestion with a unique blend of prebiotic fiber, magnesium, and potassium. Plum Smart and Plum Smart Light from Sunsweet.
Clinically proven Mederma lets you do something about your scar so you can move on with your life and leave your scar behind. Mederma.
Millions of pet owners trust 1-800-PET-MEDS for fast service, free shipping, and big savings. Call now or order online from 1-800-PET-MEDS, America's largest pet pharmacy.